Well, we're coming to the point in this particular story where it's just not funny anymore. Even Eli, the computer guy, is having a hard time laughing at this crap show. PayPal is slashing 20% of its workforce as new CEO unveils turnaround plan. The cuts, totaling about 4,060 jobs, are part of a $1.5 billion savings program announced alongside a drop in first quarter profit. That's right, the company isn't making enough profit, so your job has gotta go. I do believe there has been somebody on the internet for the past half decade screaming about how the tech sector was basically overfilled with employees, and at some time there was going to be massive layoffs. And now we are to that point in time. We've seen Intel do massive layoffs, and Amazon, and Microsoft, and Block, and AutoCAD. And basically, any company that has enough employees to allow them to do massive layoffs, they are all doing massive layoffs. And the big thing that I want you to just understand about all of this is not the end of the story, right? Basically, these companies became overstaffed over the last decade. I argued we actually had enough technology professionals back in 2017 for a number of different reasons. Basically, because of investors, because of 1% interest rates, because of the COVID disaster, because of many things. Basically, the companies way overhired. And the issue that we're running into right now, and I really want you to be cognizant of this fact, is these companies, when we see 20% layoffs, 45% layoffs, 16,000 employees being let go at a time, what I want you to understand is these companies are simply right-sizing for a good economic environment. Right? That's the important thing to understand here, right? A lot of these companies, right, they're actually going back to the employment levels they had in about 2020, right? These companies had an employment level, again, they way overhired, and in many ways, they're just going back to either the employment level that they had or the employment level they should have had if they had a normal hiring rate. That's literally all these companies are doing. And so what you should be concerned about is if they're trying to go back to a good economic environment, right-sizing for their employees, what happens when they start right-sizing for the actual economic environment that we're in? To be clear, whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, the Strait of Hormuz has been shut down for something like 2 months at this point in time. Whether you like Trump or not, again, tariff rates just zigzagging all over the place is not good for businesses, right? Again, we've had a stagnant employment market, basically a low hire, a low fire employment market where employees are literally too scared to leave their companies because they know if they leave their companies, they're not gonna find another job. And so the thing to be thinking about is with these companies, they're just getting rid of these employees to get back to a world where the Strait of Hormuz is open, where tariff rates make half an ounce of sense, where everybody feels good about the economy. Does that sound like 2026 to you? Hell no! So basically, once this round of layoffs finally comes to an end, maybe in the summer of 2026, what you have to understand is the next round of layoffs is going to start, and those are going to get a hell of a lot more brutal. Have I ever told you the story? Have I ever told you the story of having a college degree, military electronics experience, my MCSE, CCNA, 100 hours of telephone systems training, and being laid off as a pizza delivery driver? Have you ever heard that story before? Yeah, well, you are going to learn the lessons of that story pretty soon. But anyways, if we take a look at this, we can just see the disaster unfolding. PayPal plans to eliminate about 20% of its workforce. And that's the other thing I want you to understand. But when I'm talking about these layoffs, look, if I was coming out here and I'm like, look at PayPal lay off 100 people. Dude, that's clickbait. That's rage bait. Look, it's a large company. They've got like 20,000 employees. 100 employees come and 100 employees go. Right? That's just how it is. Right? There are some issues around the edges with that, but you got a large company. The issue that I want you to see here is, again, these are double-digit percentages of the entire company going away. And again, it's not one company. It's so many. Over its workforce over the next 2 to 3 years. So the good thing about this, at least, is they are going to be downsizing over 2 to 3 years, so it won't be immediate, according to Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal. With PayPal having reported 23,800 employees at the close of 2025, that figure translates into 4,760 roles eliminated. Management said the initiative is designed to deliver a minimum of $1.5 billion in gross run rate savings across the same window. Enrique Lores, who took the helm in March, outlined a two-part approach, stripping out redundant structures and speeding up the integration of AI across the business. PayPal did not specify which business area would be affected. This is the big thing to be thinking about too. And this happens with every recession, every economic kerfuffle, right? This whole idea of ripping out redundancies, right? If you have been alive for more than like 30 years, you will have heard about redundancies before. And this is the problem that we get to with boom cycles, right? There's this whole question is like, if we are growing, right? It takes 6 months to a year to fully onboard, especially like a technology employee. So if you think you're in this massive growth environment, you overhire because the idea is that by the time that you actually need the staff to do work, right, you don't want to hire them at that point in time because it'll take them 6 months to a year to actually be effective. So you basically pre-hire. You hire people a year before you need them so that when you need them, they can actually do their job. What that means, as I've talked about many times before, is that you end up having a crap ton of essentially worthless employees. The idea is they are worthless now, but they will be very valuable in the future. Here's the thing. What if the future never comes? Then what happens is you just have a whole bunch of, wait for it, literally worthless employees. And so what's happening with ripping out redundancies is they're just going through and all of these extra employees that have been hired, all of these extra cogs, they're being ripped out. The other thing that I've talked about for a long time is I do not believe this is really an artificial intelligence story. Being in the technology world for 30 years, one of the things that I've been fascinated with for about the past 10 to 15 years is how little automation has come in to so many processes. Because when you look at how a lot of businesses do what they do, the fact of the matter is they don't necessarily need artificial intelligence neural network to automate processes. Exceedingly, to be clear, exceedingly complicated if-else statements, essentially nested if-else statements, I suppose, would actually allow them to automate a lot of things. But the thing is, money was so cheap, 1% interest rates, that it was basically easier to hire people than basically bring these automated systems online. So I think the real story, right, when we get away from the buzzwords and we get away from the AI fraud and all that kind of thing, again, it kind of comes out to the end of the day where, it's a difference. There is a difference here. The question is, what is the distinction? And the whole thing is, are these companies really embracing AI or are they embracing automation? As a technology professional, that distinction has a massive difference because what technology are you going to deploy, support, train to support, and the whole 9 yards? Are you going to learn to deploy if-else statements or are you going to learn to deploy, LLMs, right? That's important for us. But on the larger employment world, it actually is a distinction without a difference. If you automate processes, right? If my job goes away because of an if-else statement, that doesn't make it any better or worse than if my job goes away because of artificial intelligence and neural networks. My job has just gone the F away. And I think that's one of the things we're going to be seeing over the next 5 or 10 years is an implementation of automation, whether or not it really has that quote unquote AI backend. And it will be interesting to see what that really means. Again, there's so many processes out there that can be just automated at this point in time and just simply, haven't been. Let's see here. In remarks to investors, Lawyers argued that the company has not put enough money into its technology infrastructure and has lost ground to rivals and financial services. This is probably true, right, with the rise of Block and all that kind of stuff. Quote, PayPal needs to focus, he said. Quote, we need to recommit to the fundamentals. Among the areas he flagged for renewed investment are the core checkout experience, buy now, pay later offerings, Venmo, financial services, and payment processing. So, yeah, I don't know, 20% of the PayPal jobs have got to go, and we're only going to see more and more of this because that's just how all of this works. So yeah, what do you think about this? What do you think about another major technology company getting rid of double-digit percentages of their employees? Is that just a hell of a thing? I see we're only at the 11-minute mark. So I'm going to try to shove some technology in here for you. So this is a little project I was working on yesterday. So this is my Raspberry Pi Pico 2W. So this is a microcontroller. So this is a computer. This is a Zero full-fledged computer. This is a microcontroller. Basically put code on it and it just continuously loops. The cool thing is it has a full Wi-Fi stack, actually a full Bluetooth and Wi-Fi stack, so it can communicate with things like anything on the internet. And basically the idea with microcontrollers is that they can pull in values from sensors and things and then send, basically trigger outputs to things like LEDs. So you can LEDs, buzzers, motors, servos, that type of deal. So basically what I have here, what's cool, you may not really be able to tell, but this is entirely self-contained. So basically this little thing is literally, what did you just do? Come back. This little thing is literally just plugged in to my outlet here. So it's plugged into the outlet. It's not plugged into a computer or anything else. Now come on, do what you're supposed to do. Oh, okay, there we go. So basically what this is a web, basically like a network scanner. So what it's doing is I have a little website set up on a VPS and I have it running with Bottle, right? So basically this is connecting to the VPS server. It's getting a 200 response from the server, which basically means it's getting the proper response for the server and the light is on, right? Since this is Bottle, what I can do here is I can simply do Control-C. So that shuts off that. And now the light is off. So it shows me that the website is down. I can then go here. I can do that. So it'll start it up again. I hit enter. And now it's back up again and the light is on. And so this is basically how you can have kind of like a physical network tester. So imagine your company uses a number of different software as a service platforms, Salesforce, Google, Dropbox, whatever else. You could set this up to have a number of these different LEDs. And then basically you can just have a board that shows you which sites are up or which sites are down. Not only that, but with this code, with the Pico, you can actually check latency. So one of the things that you could do is you could have 3 lights. So for each website. So you could have yellow, or you could have green, yellow, and red. So green is good, red is bad. But you could also have yellow. So if the latency is above 100 milliseconds, then it's yellow. So it is up, but the milliseconds is way too high. That's why you might be running into problems. So anyways, this is the kind of cool thing that you can do with these things like these little microcontrollers here. We're going to be doing more and more of these projects, but the important thing to understand is this is entirely self-contained. Once I write the code, I upload the code to this thing. I can connect it to a solar panel. I can connect it to a battery pack. I can just plug it into the wall and away you go. So isn't that cool? There you go. There's some real technology for you. I slipped it in at the end. That's what I'm going to try to do here. I'm aiming for 15-minute videos. So if we're lower than 15 minutes, I'll try to sneak a little technology in. Anyways, put your thoughts down below. Do remember these episodes are now on Spotify and on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Links for those are in the doobly-doo. See y'all later.